Hello everyone, this is Ronnie. Thank you for watching. The channel is about raw food and the raw food lifestyle and diet. So you can subscribe if you like, share it with other people. You can also join my newsletter and get more free information in the description box below. And I also want to tell you just quickly, there's going to be a webinar this Thursday night if you want to join about the 3 biggest mistakes people make in a raw vegan diet. And I'm also going to talk about an online course I'm going to be doing for the 3rd time for beginners called the Beginner's Guide to a Raw Vegan Diet. Anyway, thank you for just listening to that. There'll be more information about that in the description box below. Today I'm going to talk about the concept of how can doctors and scientists and experts be wrong. Now, during this coronavirus pandemic, I'm highly skeptical that what we're doing is right on any front, economically, health-wise, politically, educationally, health-wise, anything. That the lockdown and all of that scenario that goes along with it is in any way the right thing to do. I don't believe that it's improving or I don't think it limited how many people died from coronavirus. I don't think it limited how much the virus spread particularly, and I think that essentially there's been a major lie, a major amount of propaganda that came from initially public hysteria, that came from the media and came from information that turned out to be wrong. Very early on, it was thought that coronavirus was going to be very dangerous to people, could maybe kill up to 3% of the population or 3% of the people that got infected by it, which could be up to 500,000 people in the UK and maybe 2 million in the US. And that would have been a catastrophe. That would have been really terrible if that unbelievably high number of people had died in a year. You know, that would have been really bad. But very early on, when new information came out, the government changed, in the UK at least, it changed its perspective on the virus and said that it was no longer a high incidence infectious disease. Actually, so it wasn't as bad as they initially thought. And the data started to come out more and more that actually more people had been infected than they thought, and therefore the amount of people that had actually died as a result of it was much smaller than had been thought. And more the CDC in America came out with a statistic, I think, saying it was closer to like 0.4% or 0.6% or something mortality rate or so on. Very similar to a bad seasonal flu year. However, bearing in mind that flu deaths and COVID deaths get calculated completely differently, because a COVID death is any death with COVID on the certificate or for any reason. In fact, in the UK, it's a COVID death is any death within 28 days of a COVID test for any reason. If we counted flu like that, and we tested for flu as much as that, every death would be flu in wintertime, virtually, if we did the same thing, or the common cold. So it's a ridiculous way, as far as I can see it, it's a ridiculous way to look at the numbers. So anyway, there's that, the COVID thing. But when I say things online about this, about what a terrible mistake this is, how damaging this has been in so many ways, how we're completely focused on this one objective, which we don't even know what the objective is. The objective seems to be to get rid of COVID absolutely completely. However, if you do this test on millions of people, you're going to continue to get cases. And then if every single person that has been tested, if they die, they're put down as a COVID death, you're going to continue to get deaths. So, and the more tests, you're going to continue to rise these numbers. So it's all bizarre. Anyone who's got a mind, who's got a barest level of intellect, can see that. I can't understand how everyone can't see that. There's something really wrong. It's taken a long time for a lot of people to start thinking that way, but a lot of us were sort of thinking like this basically close to the start, close to the very start, where we thought, right, okay, lockdown a few weeks, whatever, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Oh, the numbers are coming down now, everything, we'll just go back to normal. And then it didn't happen, and it continued and it continued and it continued, and even now we don't know what it is they're waiting for to open the country again. Oh, we want it to stop spreading. We want 0 cases. We want. What do you want? What is it? Nicola Sturgeon, the leader of Scotland, said no amount of deaths is acceptable. Like, what kind of a statement is that? No amount of deaths. Deaths is the death rate is 100% in human beings. You can't say the acceptable death rate is 0 of coronavirus. Like, people are gonna die, and anyway. The point of this video is that people will come back and say, well, you're not a doctor or a scientist, what do you know? Because people want to put their bets on, the middle of the road conventional, like, that's probably right. Most of the time you would say that. If the experts are mostly saying that, that's probably right. Unfortunately, it's not really how the world works. You've got massive business interests, you've got huge institutional kind of interests, trade unions, the whole NHS. The NHS has been horrific in this coronavirus. Not in terms of the work that nurses and doctors have done. We're talking about the power leaders of the NHS, whoever it is, the people that run it, that have just been absolutely using this to bleed the government, drive more money, to just steal more money from the taxpayers for the NHS, for hospitals that were never needed, Jubilee hospitals or whatever. And what's the extra 3 billion for? We're giving the extra 3 billion, and there's been less people in hospital. People have been dying because they didn't go to hospital because the government said stay home and stay safe. So people stayed home. Well, if you stay home and you're sick, you've got a much higher chance of dying. Anyway, yeah, and there's conventional science around this particular propaganda message of the whole COVID cult, and everyone's part of the branch Covidian cult, and everyone's waiting for the holy grace, the holy communion of the vaccine to come along and clear away the evil spirits, and this is how the human psyche works. And so there's all these people who are scientific, and they're waiting for the holy communion to come and clear away the evil spirits. It's like, what is this? The 8th century, the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. Have viruses ever got rid of a coronavirus? Well, the common cold's still around, and then you say, well, we've never really tried to get rid of the common cold. Like, you would win a Nobel Prize if you got rid of the common cold. Like, let's not pretend. We've never got rid of the flu. You'd definitely win a Nobel Prize. As if there's not people working on that. Like, they can't do it. Oh, but we have a flu virus every year. It's like, we have a flu vaccine every year. Yeah, we have a flu vaccine. We still have people dying from flu, like, who take the vaccine. Like, these things they're pointless, right? What we're talking about is very sick people that happen to die of the flu or happen to die of coronavirus when they would have died of almost anything else they would have caught, or any other infection, or any other small thing would have come along and killed them, because they were very vulnerable, sick people. And that's the issue. And so this idea that we need to focus and put trillions of dollars into trying to find a vaccine for what? You can't vaccinate against death. You can't vaccinate against ill health. You can't vaccinate against a hospital that continues to feed people the food that causes the illness. So how can the scientists and the doctors be wrong? It's not possible for the scientists and the doctors and the scientists in the government. Well, firstly, there's plenty of scientists in the government that are saying, there's plenty of scientists that are saying the opposite. So if you're just saying we've got scientists, well, there's other scientists, and there's this scientist and that scientist, and you had, at the very start of this pandemic, you had the Imperial College of London, who came out with a model that a lot of people have said is a totally bizarre model that doesn't work, saying that 500,000 people would die. At the same time, the Oxford team came out with a model saying probably a lot of people have already been infected, it's not been that bad, and and we should go for herd immunity. And that wasn't listened to, right? Because panic and fear gets much more attention, and alarm and fear and all that stuff gets more attention, part of it. But the idea that the scientists and the doctors can't be wrong, they're infallible, is in itself a fallacy, or that the science can't be wrong. that the studies can't be wrong is itself a fallacy. And you got these, and people talk about this something Dunning effect, the something Dunning effect, which is like the more people know about something, the less they're sure about it. So you're too sure, Ronnie, you don't know anything about this. But these scientists, they're very balanced and rational people. No, they're people on a salary who have a particular agenda and a bias because of their salary, their particular training, where they went to. Doctors are totally ill-equipped to help people with getting healthier. It's unbelievable. Doctors don't even know why people get sick. I try and ask a doctor, like, do you know why your patients are getting sick? Do you understand? Oh, it's a whole bunch of things and something and, you know, whatever. There's all sorts of things. We can't really do anything about it. Like, no, it's their diet mostly. It's most of these chronic diseases is all diet. Now, hundreds of years ago and throughout the history of medicine, and it's not that they don't have some good things that they do. They definitely have good things. You don't throw out the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies. You don't get rid of them. They just need to diminish in size, right? But they only diminish in size as if people get healthier, right? So when people get healthier and no one has heart disease anymore, like no one has heart disease anymore. It doesn't exist anymore as a concept, as an idea, apart from maybe a few people that are born with poor genetics and they have like heart issues or something, but not the actual heart disease that everyone gets now and dies from. When diabetes is no longer a thing that even exists, when it doesn't exist. Type 2 diabetes, when strokes never happen, when dementia is gone, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's do not happen, and people just live into old age and their brain keeps working. When digestive disorders are gone, so that young people aren't getting their colon removed and have to live with a fucking ostomy bag or whatever it is their whole life, for the rest of their fucking life, because they don't have, I don't know why I'm swearing, sorry about that, because they don't, the body parts have just been ripped out. Oh, the body parts were wrong. The body parts were wrong. The diet is wrong. Come on now. Horrible. So the idea, although they can't be wrong, the entire scientific world when it comes to health is wrong. The entire scientific world is full of nonsense, focusing all this bullshit. Once again, I apologise for the swearing. Focusing on absolute nonsense. The scientists saying the human being is evolved as a cooked food eater. Like, what a load of rubbish. Well, Ronnie, where's your evidence? How about every fucking species on the fucking planet eats a raw food diet? Where's your evidence of raw food diets happening? You know. So, sorry, I'm sweating. I don't know why I swear. I never swear in videos. Anyway, I don't swear usually in real life. So, I'm trying to get to this point. Let's talk about the history of this stuff. Let's talk about scurvy. Scurvy, that disease that killed hundreds of thousands of sailors, maimed many, harmed many, caused much pain and treachery and problems and whatever. When these sailors came to dry land and they were discovered and people found them, there was people that knew what was happening to them. Not the scientists and the doctors and the professors, but there was just like local people, local like witch doctor type people and whoever, who were just like, oh yeah, that thing, oh you've got that thing, yeah, that happens when a person's like away out at sea for a while, or they're away out in the forest or whatever, trying to live on meat for a while. Yeah, so here you just have to eat this, you'll be fine. Right? Fruit, leaves, any vegetation, virtually any vegetation that's not poisonous, vegetables, nuts, seeds, almost anything with any trace of vitamin C, and the person gets better. Right? Happened in many places. It was documented hundreds, thousands of years, actually thousands of years before scurvy was fully understood. They knew what to do about it. Various people around the world knew what to do about it. Did the medical establishment and the pharmaceutical establishment, did they all just go, oh, that's it, it's just, we just need, people just need to eat fruit? Did it just get accepted straight away? Of course not. Don't be silly. We have to find the scientific solution. It can't be anything. It can't be something as silly as fruit. It can't be that. Fruit's not powerful, you know. No, not enough protein. So you get these people that, and so it was hundreds and hundreds of years before the cure of scurvy was accepted to be fruit, or essentially vitamin C, whatever, but basically fruit. And it took for a scientist to like fully understand it. And you don't need to understand it. If people are getting better eating fruit, then all you need to do is give them fruit. The problem is the diet is lacking. And the ironic thing, unfortunately, in our raw vegan community, fruitarian community, whatever you want to call it, 80-10-10, is people are taking that and now applying it to fruit. What I mean by that is there's a history of deficiency. But here's the weird thing. Those sailors, for example, they're eating meat and they're eating biscuits, which is like grains, and probably fish. You can imagine sailors are probably catching fish. They're getting vitamin C deficiency. But people can't even imagine that a diet of meat and biscuits and fish would cause deficiency. No way. No way that a diet of meat and biscuits and fish would cause deficiency. But literally, it's a deficiency that was cured by eating fruit, because that diet is so deficient. It's the diet that most people eat. Meat and grains and I mean, if you eat meat, you don't know anything about health. I understand. Like, you just don't know anything about health. You just, I get it. I used to eat meat too. I didn't know anything about health. I didn't know anything about a healthy diet. So if you eat that diet, right, it's such an incredibly deficient diet that it causes these major health problems. Of course, you have to go back to the proper diet of humankind, which is fruit, in order to cure it. But unfortunately, people in the raw vegan movement are still like, oh, well, fruit actually might not have enough in it now, so we need to add in, so someone could go back to eating animals and then they would get something that they didn't get in the fruit, and that would cure their deficiency. Like, total nonsense. Total nonsense. Like, all these people that went back to eating meat and felt better, they're just totally lying to you. Lying through their face. People lie. Just realize that. Maybe they're not lying, maybe they don't think they're lying, but they're lying. When I have multiple friends that got rid of multiple diseases and problems and illnesses in their life on a fruit diet, and then go back to eating meat and say, well, that fruit diet never really did anything for me, I'm like, well, it cured your autoimmune condition that you'd been struggling with for your whole life because you'd eaten a meat-based diet. You know, I almost swore there. I need to relax a second. So, what am I trying to say? Scurvy, a great example. Hundreds of years before it was accepted that it was simply a diet thing. It was simply eat healthier. It was simply eat fruit. Couldn't accept it. People could not accept it. Here's another thing about that. There was no sailor on those ships going, man, I need fruit. Oh my God, my body is screaming out for fruit. My body is screaming out for fruit. People, some of you think that your body knows what it's doing. It doesn't have a clue. It's about environment and the way that your body reacts to your environment. And your body is not going to say, bloop, 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 we need lemons. Go and get lemons because we need vitamin C. There's actually people that believe that the body has that ability. It doesn't. Confusing hunger with appetite, and they don't understand the psychology of appetite and hunger. Okay, I'll talk more about that stuff in my course. Go and check it out below. Join the course. So that's a great example. And now in the 21st century, we've known for 50, 60, 70 years heart disease is caused by diet. We know that. But still, if you speak to medical students, come out of university, and doctors and professors. What causes heart disease? Mumbo jumbo, ramble bamble, blah 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 blah. They won't tell you it's diet. It's 100% saturated fat causes heart disease. We've known that since 70 years ago, 70, 80 years ago. From the 80s we know it can be reversed with a plant-based diet. From the 1980s, how long is it going to take for every doctor to know that? Like first day of medical school. First day of medical school. Here's the thing that kills most people. Here's what cures it. Know that, so that when people come and ask you about it, you have the actual answer. You're meant to have that. That's what a doctor's meant to know. Basic. Here's and close behind, type 2 diabetes. Here's how it's caused. Here's how we change it. It's called a diet. We change the diet. Okay, if the person says I am not going to change my diet, here's the other bullshit stuff we do that doesn't work. Right? So anyway, so the idea that scientists and doctors can't be wrong or infallible or anything is silly, stupid. There's so many interests and so much money flowing around and so many biases that people are quite happy to be led along and deluded, and there's all sorts of there's so much wasted time in science, unfortunately. So much wasted time on this diet thing. Like, if everyone just got over to, we need to eat a diet that makes sense for our body, it's called a fruit diet. If we get back to that, then all these scientists that are studying how do we grow cows bigger, how do we get more milk production from cows, they can all disappear and start putting their time towards actual proper something that might improve the world. The amount of wasted time on this nonsense. They should be putting their time into how do we grow better fruit. Anyway, this is one of the big things we can actually make a change to the planet if people eat a fruit diet. Vegan at least, but fruit diet. Vegan at least. Makes a huge, it's the biggest political, economic, health thing that we can just do as a one-off thing that just changes and improves everything. But Ronnie, you don't have the science and the data around that, and it's like, this is just excuses people are using for their own their own delusions. They want to hang on to these illusions. So people, I'm so right about this, it hurts. I'm so right. I don't like being right. Coronavirus thing, so obvious to me, how it's so obvious to a lot of people. This thing is not as bad as people want to make out. But the hospitals are full. Where'd you get that information? Oh, the media are saying so. They wouldn't lie about that. Of course they would. What do you mean they wouldn't lie about it? They're not. They're a money-making organisation. Oh, but if they told lies and if they were found out about it, no, they tell lies all the time. It doesn't matter. People aren't going to stop looking at the news. So anyway, thank you for watching the video. And if you want some information about the raw vegan diet, if you come across this, you want to learn more about it, you need to get educated about it. So you could go to all these courses and read books and all that stuff, but I put it all in this 12-part course you can join. It's going live. I actually teach online. You can join. You can ask questions. I'll add some materials in. I'll add in a whole bunch of free stuff that you can take as part of the course. And so this Thursday we're going to do a webinar about the 3 biggest mistakes you can make in a raw vegan diet. And if you want to check that out, you can. If you want to join the course, you can. You can go to rawvegancourse.com/Ronnie and you can join me there, or you can get registered there, and you'll get more notifications about it. rawvegancourse.com/Ronnie. Hope to see you there. And a lot of people have enjoyed it in the past and thought it was good and good value, and there's also given me a chance to be part of it for free. So sign up, see you there, and thanks for watching today.